Have you ever wondered why some Christian marriages seem to radiate joy and strength, while others struggle to survive? What if I told you there's a biblical secret that can transform your marriage from surviving to thriving? Today, I'm going to share with you the one principle that has saved countless marriages and can revolutionize yours too. Stay with me because what you're about to discover could change everything. You know, when I look at the marriages around me, I see two distinct patterns. There are couples who seem to weather every storm together, growing stronger through challenges, their love deepening with each passing year. Then there are others who started with the same dreams, the same hopes, but somehow lost their way. The difference isn't luck, circumstances, or even compatibility. The difference lies in understanding and applying one fundamental biblical truth that most couples overlook. Before we dive into this life-changing secret, let me ask you something personal. When you think about your marriage or your future marriage, what do you envision? Do you see two people merely coexisting under the same roof? Or do you see something magnificent, something that reflects the very heart of God? Because that's exactly what marriage was designed to be. And I'm here to show you how to achieve. The secret I'm about to reveal isn't hidden in some obscure biblical text. It's right there in plain sight, woven throughout Scripture, demonstrated by Jesus himself, and available to every couple willing to embrace it. This principle has the power to heal wounds that seem impossible to mend, to restore intimacy where there's been distance, and to create unity where there's been division. Let me start by taking you back to the very beginning, to God's original design for marriage. In Genesis chapter 2, verse 18, God declares, "It is not good for man to be alone. I will make him a helper, suitable for him." Notice that God didn't say he would make someone to serve him or someone to complete him. He said a helper, a partner, someone suitable. This word suitable in Hebrew means corresponding to or matching. It suggests two pieces that fit perfectly together, not because they're identical, but because they complement each other perfectly. But here's where most couples miss it. They think marriage is about finding someone who makes them happy, someone who meets their needs, someone who fulfills their desires. While these things aren't wrong, they're not the foundation of a strong Christian marriage. The foundation is something much deeper, much more powerful, and much more transformative. The secret to a strong Christian marriage is this: sacrificial love modeled after Christ's love for the church. But wait, before you think you've heard this before, let me explain what this really means in practical, everyday terms. Because understanding this principle intellectually is one thing, but living it out is where the miracle happens. Paul writes in Ephesians chapter 5, verses 25 through 26. "Husbands, love your wives, as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her, to make her holy, cleansing her by the washing with water through the word." And then in verse 28, "In this same way, husbands ought to love their wives as their own bodies. He who loves his wife loves himself." No, don't. Now you might be thinking, but what about wives? What's their role in this? Paul addresses this too. In verse 22 he says, "Wives, submit yourselves to your own husbands as you do to the Lord." But here's the crucial context that changes everything. This instruction comes right after verse 21, which says, "Submit to one another out of reverence for Christ." Do you see it? The secret isn't about hierarchy or control or one person being more important than the other. The secret is mutual submission, mutual sacrifice, mutual love that puts the other person first. It's about both husband and wife asking not what can I get from this marriage, but what can I give to this marriage? Not standing, not on. Let me paint you a picture of what this looks like in real life. Imagine a marriage where the husband wakes up each morning asking, "How can I serve my wife today? How can I love her like Christ loved the church. And the wife wakes up asking, how can I support and encourage my husband today? How can I be his partner in the fullest sense? This isn't about losing your identity or becoming a doormat. It's about finding your greatest fulfillment and giving sacrificially to the person you've chosen to spend your life with. I think about Jesus washing his disciples' feet. Here was the Son of God, the King of Kings, getting on his knees to wash dirty, smelly feet. He didn't do this because he was weak or subservient. He did it because he understood something profound about love. True love serves. True love sacrifices. True love puts the other first. When both partners in a marriage embrace this kind of love, something miraculous happens. Instead of two people fighting to get their needs met, you have two people fighting to meet each other's needs. Instead of competition, you have cooperation. Instead of keeping score, you have grace. Instead of trying to change each other, you focus on changing yourself. But let's be honest, this isn't easy. Our natural inclination is to be selfish, to protect ourselves, to make sure we're getting what we deserve. That's why this kind of love is supernatural. It requires God's help, God's grace, and God's strength working through us. 1 Corinthians 13 gives us the blueprint for this kind of love. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Now, maybe more. Read that passage again. But this time, insert your name and your spouse's name. I am patient with my spouse. I am kind to my spouse. I do not envy my spouse. I do not boast over my spouse. I am not proud toward my spouse. How does that feel? Where do you see gaps? Where do you need God's help to love more like Christ? Here's where it gets practical. Sacrificial love isn't just a feeling. It's a choice you make every single day. It's choosing to listen when you'd rather be heard. It's choosing to forgive when you'd rather hold a grudge. It's choosing to serve when you'd rather be served. It's choosing to build up when you'd rather tear down. Let me share some specific ways you can start living this out today. For husbands, Christ's love for the church was protective, nurturing, and sacrificial. How can you protect your wife's heart, her dreams, her dignity? How can you nurture her growth, her gifts, her relationship with God? How can you sacrifice your comfort, your time, your preferences for her well-being? For wives, supporting and partnering with your husband doesn't mean becoming invisible or voiceless. It means using your strength, your wisdom, your gifts to help him become the man God called him to be. It means being his greatest encourager, his most trusted advisor, his closest friend. But here's what makes this even more beautiful. When you love sacrificially, you're not just building a better marriage. You're displaying the gospel to a watching world. Jesus said in John 13, verse 35, "By this everyone will know that you are my disciples, if you love one another." Your marriage becomes a living testimony of God's love for humanity. Think about the couples whose marriages you admire most. I guarantee you'll find this principle at work. They've learned the secret of putting each other first, of serving each other, of sacrificing for each other's good. They understand that a strong marriage isn't built on what you can get, but on what you can give. Now, I want to address something important. Maybe you're thinking, but what if my spouse doesn't do their part? Would I find the only one trying? Here's the beautiful truth. You can only control your part. But when you start loving sacrificially, it's contagious. When you start serving without expecting anything in return, it softens hearts. When you start putting your spouse first, it often inspires them to do the same. And even if your spouse doesn't immediately respond, you're still doing what's right before God. You're still becoming more like Christ. you're still sowing seeds that will eventually bear fruit. The Apostle Peter writes in 1 Peter 3 verses 1 through 2, "Wives, in the same way submit yourselves to your own husbands, so that if any of them do not believe the word, they may be won over without words by the behavior of their wives, when they see the purity and reverence of your lives. Nine P. Gaden. Maybe Martihan." The same principle applies to husbands. Your sacrificial love can win over a reluctant heart. Your consistent service can melt resistance. Your unconditional commitment can restore trust. This is the climax of what I want you to understand today. The secret to a strong Christian marriage isn't finding the perfect person or having the perfect circumstances. It's becoming the right kind of person yourself. It's choosing to love like Christ loves, to serve like Christ serves, to sacrifice like Christ sacrificed. When you make this choice, when you embrace this biblical truth, your marriage becomes more than just a legal contract or a romantic relationship. It becomes a covenant, a sacred partnership that reflects the very nature of God's love for us. So here's my challenge for you today. Whether you've been married for decades, or you're preparing for marriage, whether your relationship is thriving or struggling, start living out this secret. Start loving sacrificially. Start serving selflessly. Start putting your spouse first. Begin with prayer. Ask God to show you how to love your spouse the way Christ loves the church. Ask for His strength to choose sacrifice over selfishness, service over self-interest. Ask for His grace to forgive, His patience to persevere, His wisdom to know how to love well. Then take action. Look for specific ways to serve your spouse today. Listen more intently. Encourage more freely. Forgive more quickly. Love more deeply. Remember, the secret to a strong Christian marriage isn't complicated, but it is challenging. It requires dying to self and living for another. It requires putting God's design above cultural expectations. It requires faith, hope, and most of all, love. Your marriage can be everything God designed it to be. It can be a source of joy, strength, and testimony that impacts generations. It starts with you. It starts today. And it starts with choosing to love sacrificially. The secret is now yours. The question is, what will you do with it?